welcome back to our YouTube channel.
As we film this, it is the middle of March, and in March, between the two of us, we will have been to Sydney, Calgary, back home to New York,
You more than
San
me.
Francisco, back to New York, Tennessee, Chicago, back to New York, and to LA, which is a very, very heavy travel month for us.
Yeah.
That much traveling definitely takes a toll on our personal lives, work lives, our cats, and us. So today we're going to talk to you guys a little bit about how we navigate all this work, personal, friend-related travel that we do.
So the first thing that we wanted to talk about was home care travel hacks.
Basically, how we get our home ready for our departure. So the first part of that is, of course, our pets.
Yeah. So how do we care for our cats? We have our friend and our neighbor come over and he plays with them throughout the day.
For their food, we basically try to order as much food as we need for our entire trip ahead of time so that our cat sitter doesn't have to go out and grab food, which he is willing to do if we run out, but we just try our best to make sure that we calculate the exact number of cans of what food that we need and make sure that they're all stocked up. And then for their litter situation, we have a type of litter box where the pellets themselves don't need to be changed more than once a month. And that makes it a little bit easier because there's no complicated process of like throwing out the entire litter box when we're out of town because it needs to be changed urgently or anything like that.
So before we go on any kind of trip, no matter how long it is, Anjali always reminds me to clean out the fridge because that's my job when we're traveling, right? I need to make sure that there's no rotten food in the fridge and that when we come back, there's no bad odors.
Speaking of keeping things clean and organized, I will be the first to admit that we're not really the best at leaving our apartment in a super tidy state before we leave. But we've been trying to make more of an effort for our last few trips to like tidy up and make the place presentable so that we can come home to a restful place after a long day of travel. So the main things that we usually prioritize and are pretty good about is just making sure that in the living area, anything that the cats can destroy if unsupervised is put away.
I feel like if anything, the cats keep us accountable to like not leave the place cluttered before we go on a trip.
So we're always really good about that, but lately we've been trying to do a better job at like making sure that there are clean sheets on the bed. We've decluttered after our packing process because I tend to pull like a bunch of things out of the closet while I'm packing, so just like putting them away, hanging things back up.
So we recently prioritized perfecting our travel process because we're going to be traveling a lot more since we're having a destination wedding soon. We need to start looking at venues really soon. Of course, having a destination wedding has a lot of moving parts and we need to finalize our guest list and send out our save the dates.
Thankfully, Zola's guest list feature is perfect for this. We can stop using that spreadsheet that we mentioned to you guys in one of our previous videos and upload it into the Zola guest list tool, which will make everything much more organized. And then, once our guest list is finalized, we'll be able to use some of Zola's amazing guest list related features to help us out with the rest of the process. For example, we can use the free envelope addressing feature that Zola has where they'll pull addresses from our guest list and address all of our envelopes for us for our save the dates or invites. It'll help us out with escort card printing and even include our guests' meal selections from their RSVPs. And we can use information from our guest list in their seating chart builder tool. As a wedding planner, I know that building the seating chart and filling it out can be one of the most stressful parts of the planning process for my clients. So I know that that's going to be a really big help for me during that process. Well, for both of us, but let's be real, she does not want to do the seating chart.
No, but I'll help in any way I can.
Guests that are in the guest list can also RSVP directly on the website where they'll also be able to find more information about travel, lodging, accommodations, all of that. So there will be no playing a game of telephone with all the details of the wedding.
Click the link on the screen or in the description to check out Zola and start creating your own guest list.
Alright, the next piece of our travel hack video is going to be arguably about the most important part, which is luggage and packing.
Okay, so when do we start packing? I think it's different every time we travel. I tend to try and pack like 2 or 3 days before my trip, but I think in dating Anjali, I've started to pack the night before.
Because I'm a night before packer.
Yeah, I try to help her pack as much as she can first, so that's out of the way, and then I pack mine like really quickly.
As I've had more and more trips where I've been going straight from one destination to the next, I've started packing earlier and earlier because the stress of like worrying about forgetting one thing for the second leg of my trip just gets too overwhelming, and I need to start putting things in my bag for my own peace of mind. So that's definitely been helping as we've been working through like our travel process.
Yeah, and sometimes you'll travel to like a different climate, like the opposite climate of your first leg of the trip. So
if I'm actively thinking about like, oh my god, I need my earmuffs because my second leg's gonna be cold, I'd rather just stick it in my suitcase right then when I think about it than trust myself the night before to think about both climates thoroughly.
And that's been helping you, I think.
Definitely been helping.
Anxiety packing. Next question. What do you pack first and what do you pack last? I usually pack my toiletries first because I feel like they're the most important things for me. What I pack last might be like outerwear, so like jackets and stuff.
I'm kind of the opposite. I like to think about like what are the bulkiest things that are going to take up the most space in my suitcase first. So things like outerwear, if I'm not able to wear it on the plane or if I have multiple, I'll put those in so I know how much space I'm working with. And then the last thing that I pack is toiletries because I just really don't like that feeling of like, oh my god, I need to brush my teeth now and I've already packed my toothbrush. So I like to like move through my routine at the end of the evening after I'm done packing and then pack those things up and put them away when I'm done.
I don't know, we were opposites in that.
Yeah.
When I pack for you, I pack the way I pack, so.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, the next question is, what essentials do you always make sure to pack? My essentials list is kind of the last thing that I run through before I run out the door. So it's basically the things that if I forget them, I can't replace them. So like my contact lenses, because my prescription is just so high, most places I can't get a replacement. My retainer, because obviously retainer, my meds, my passport, wallet, keys kind of thing. I kind of think of it as all the other things. If I land there and I realize I don't have it, I can find it somewhere.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think my essentials are always like keys, wallet, shades, COVID card or something. I don't know.
Vaccination card, totally. A lot of places require it, so we just bring it anyway.
Just in case. Core things like camera bag or like laptop if you need to like work when you are out of town.
Which we usually do. Yeah. I feel like the next two questions kind of go hand in hand. The first is how many bags do you usually take? And then the second is how do we plan for different weather? So I do feel like when we're going to a colder place, we tend to pack more suitcases just because cold weather clothes are bulkier. I would say we never want to travel with more than one checked luggage each, just because we like to be able to hold everything that we're traveling with ourselves. But other than that, you know, when we can, we'll try to just do a carry-on and a personal item.
So next is how do we pack our electronics? So when we were in Sydney for our recent trip, I basically took my travel book bag that has my camera and our vlog camera that we rented. And then it has a compartment for my laptop as well. So it's like super organized, and that's where we keep all our electronics in one place. And Anjali actually got that bag for me, so like I use it all the time and it's like compact.
Okay, so our last question, it's basically just asking if we have any packing horror stories that made us want to come up with a new hack or a new system to make things easier.
I personally don't have any horror packing stories, but seeing Anjali like get really stressed out before any flight, like even if it's like 2 or 3 days, like I think there's so many steps to like packing that give her a lot of anxiety. Like I think that's like what the first thing that I would think of, and like how I support her and like how I take on that load. And it's like super easy for me, right? Like I don't get stressed out when I'm packing unless I'm packing really late, like I'm packing a few hours before the flight.
Yeah, so she definitely took over that task for me, and if I need support packing, like it's automatic, she'll step in and help me out, and sometimes even start the process for me before I even have the chance to ask, which is really nice. For me, I think in terms of like a horror story, I just feel like when my personal item is too heavy, I have this duffel bag that I have to like carry on one shoulder, so when it's too heavy and I'm lugging it through the airport, it just like, it hurts. And if I am asked to like gate check my bag or whatever it is beforehand and I have to carry it through the airport, I can't roll it on my luggage. It's just too much for me. So I started trying to intentionally to pack my personal item as light as possible. So I like to keep my electronics on me, you know, for safety purposes. But I will try and keep the things in that that bag minimal so that I'm still comfortable holding it on my shoulder. I think that's the only thing I can think of that has really made me like stop and reevaluate how I pack and distribute things in my bags.
Okay, so our next topic is organizing work and life events around our travel. The first question is, how do you travel around?
Schedule around travel dates.
Keep it. I might keep that in there. How do you schedule around travel dates?
So for like meetings and online appointments, do we still go? Do we reschedule? All of that. I think the answer to this question really depends on the nature of the trip that we're taking. So for example, if we're going back to the Bay Area to visit my family, or if we're going back because I have a work trip that I need to take for a venue visit or for one of my clients' weddings, we'll usually still keep our work schedules the same, especially because my family is usually working during the day anyway, so we'll get that precious evening time with them and get to hang out with them, but we'll still be able to manage our work schedule.
I feel like when we're traveling within the States, sometimes we like keeping our structure and our routine, so like we'll still have our weekly meetings.
But if we're going on a leisurely, relaxing vacation, we'll usually try to reschedule our meetings and appointments around the trip dates. For example, if we have therapy appointments and stuff like that, we'll try to take them before or after the day that we travel, just in case any flight delays get in the way. And then meetings, we'll usually try to prepone them, get them done early and instead of later, so that we don't have anything scheduled during the time of travel. That way we can really unplug and unwind a little bit. I find that especially helpful when we're in places that are really different time zones. Like when we were in Sydney, it would have been really hard to schedule around that 16-hour time difference.
Yeah, that was hard. So that's it for today's video.
If you haven't already, check out our past videos on the proposal and wedding planning process so you can stay up to date. Also, be sure to like,
Subscribe,
and comment
so you don't miss out on the rest of our wedding planning journey.
Thanks for watching, guys!